Hello, welcome to the Rio Gaming Nexus YouTube channel. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy the video, and thanks for watching.
It was just another Tuesday in New York, well, as normal as it gets when you have gods, a giant green dude, and a man in an iron suit all coexisting in the same city. Tony Stark was in his usual state, a bit cocky, maybe a touch hungover, and mostly bored out of his mind. He was tinkering away in his workshop, messing around with some new repulsor tech, when suddenly a news report flickered onto his screen. It was a short, cryptic clip from Paris. A crowd was running. Something felt really off. Then came the panic, and not the usual "oh no, aliens are invading" kind of panic that everyone had gotten used to. This was something else entirely. People were screaming, and the footage cut to a scene of total chaos. There, in the midst of it all, was a figure that sent chills down Tony's spine. It was Captain America, but not the Cap everyone knew and loved. His uniform was shredded, his skin a sickly gray, and his eyes, once a vibrant blue, were now a haunting milky white, completely devoid of humanity. He moved through the crowd with a predatory hunger that felt downright terrifying. The Avengers sprang into action. Thor, who just happened to be back on Earth for a visit, flew toward Paris, Mjolnir in hand, his eyes blazing with righteous fury. The Hulk, after a quick and bewildered transformation, leaped across the Atlantic with a guttural roar that echoed through the air. Iron Man, his suit fully powered up, rocketed toward the growing disaster, but they were too late. The infection spread like wildfire, each bite creating a new monster, a new threat. The first blow hit hard. A disembodied voice crackled over the comms, sending a chill through Tony. Thor, he's gone. It was a plea, a warning. But who could have possibly taken down Thor? Then a horrifying image flashed on Tony's heads-up display. There it was, a zombified Hulk, his green skin peeling and rotting, had sunk his teeth into the Asgardian's neck. The Hulk, the Avengers' powerhouse, had transformed into something far more terrifying, a relentless hunter driven by an insatiable craving for flesh. What followed wasn't just a battle. It was a massacre. The heroes, who were used to fighting villains, were now up against their own friends. Black Widow, her signature red hair matted and soaked in blood, lunged at Hawkeye, who was barely able to fend her off. Wolverine, whose healing factor was no match for the viral infection, staggered through the streets of New York, a single claw extended, his face twisted into a mask of primal hunger. The Fantastic Four, once symbols of scientific hope, had become grotesque reminders of a new kind of horror. Reed Richards, his body stretched and distorted, slithered down the streets like a nightmarish worm. Tony Stark, alone in his workshop, watched the world around him unravel. He tried to think, to analyze, to come up with some sort of solution. But how do you fight an enemy that can't be reasoned with, can't be contained, and certainly can't be killed? He saw the last of the uninfected heroes fall. Spider-Man, once swinging through the city with ease, lay crumpled in an alley, a gaping hole torn through his stomach. The last broadcast he received was a chilling, muffled scream from inside Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum, followed by the sound of glass shattering and a low, guttural growl that sent shivers down his spine. The final scene of this apocalyptic nightmare was grim and silent. The sun rose over a city now crawling with the undead, and there, on a rooftop, stood a single, zombified Iron Man. His suit was battered, and his face was a grotesque mask of rust and exposed bone. He raised a hand, and with a sickening crunch of metal, a repulsor blast shot into the sky. But this wasn't a warning or a battle cry. It was a single, hungry beacon, a silent invitation to the new masters of a dead world. In that moment, Tony realized how quickly everything could change. Heroes turned into monsters, friends became foes, and the line between good and evil blurred into oblivion. It was a chilling reminder that even the strongest among them were not invincible. The world had shifted overnight, and now the very people who once stood for justice were the ones to be feared. The stakes had never been higher, and the battle for survival was just beginning. How would they fight back against something that seemed so insurmountable? Would they ever find a way to reclaim their world from the brink of darkness? The answers felt painfully out of reach, and the clock was ticking.